Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Black Family Financial Podcast with Lawrence Watkins. And I am here with Jullien Gordon. And today we're going to be talking about, is your network really your net worth? But before we get into that, Jullien, man, how are you doing today?
Everything is good. Everything is good, man. I got a couple deals, real estate deals in the pipeline. Looking at my dry erase board over here, working on a new opportunity and offer to share with people my journey around acquiring multifamily real estate. Had a powerful, in context of today's topic, I had about 8 brothers come over last Friday, and we just talked about marriage and money, which was absolutely powerful. These are brothers that I'd met since getting here in December in different places, from the park to the pool to a restaurant to grocery store line. And so it was good I sent out a text message and fellas came through. So that was exciting. And yeah, enjoying the weather down here. We have like perfect 78-degree weather today. And so can't be that. That's that temperature where you don't even know if it's hot or cold because it just perfect.
Yeah, man, I know all about that.
Yeah, I know you do.
Yeah, no, that's one of the benefits of being down here. So it's good that you got a chance to connect,
Yes.
with like-minded brothers as well. And
Yes,
you got a
sir.
lot of stuff going on the real estate front. I think you mentioned before in terms of just
Yes.
deals closing and getting
Mhm.
money and making
Getting
moves.
money, man. I just did my first refi, or actually 2 refis at the same time. I had 2 properties here that appreciated pretty well over the past 2 years. And so I'm able to take that money out, make it liquid. And now I'm able to go and do some other deals with it rather than it being stuck in the kitchen counters and in the floors of that house. I get to use that now. So I'm excited about that. It was my first time ever refiing. And as I just run the numbers and the financial models around it, it makes 100% sense.
Got you. Yeah, and can't wait till you launch that course
As I just run the numbers and the financial.
on real estate investing, because I think that's going to be some really cool stuff, because you're going through all of that stuff right now in
Yes.
regards to how do you go about building your real estate business. So no, I think that's awesome.
Thanks, man.
So, as you're dealing with real assets, continuing from our conversation from last week,
Yeah.
I made some moves on some intangible assets for my
Beautiful.
daughter. Yeah, so
Beautiful.
she got her second passport,
Yes.
her Colombian passport. So
Okay.
yeah, the rules are, so they don't have like just standard birthright citizenship like they do in the United States, where
Yeah.
no matter if the parents are citizens or not, that if they're born in the United States, that they automatically become citizens. But
Yeah.
both me and Carla both have visas to be in Colombia for a few years. That's what allowed Amina to get her dual citizenship.
Got
Uh,
you.
yeah. So
And
that's
what does that mean for you? What did that mean to you? Why was I know that was on your to-do list and you were really committed to it. What did that mean for you as a father? Yeah, why was it so important for you?
yeah. So that was important to me. Really coming back even to today's conversation in regards to opportunity
Okay.
uh, and resiliency, just in case something goes wrong in the country or so, right? Long term, because I think in resiliency, we've gotten so used to nothing really tragic or bad happening in the United States.
Hmm.
It can never occur,
Got you.
and because of that, I guess we get a little bit complacent, and then we're also kind of shackled to whatever the United States government tells us to do, or whatever they want from us.
Yeah.
Because most people can't just get up and leave and go somewhere else, but
Yeah.
I don't want that for my children, right? So I think for our generation, meaning me and my brother and my sister, the goal was one, to get good jobs, have high income. And now we're starting to really talk about how to build wealth, over the last, 5 years or so.
Yeah.
But I think for the next generation, it's going to be about, instead of considering yourself a citizen of this country, how do you become a citizen of the world? Right.
Yeah.
So I think, the next challenge for our family is how do we become insulated from any type of local politics to a certain extent, right? I mean,
Yeah.
if I was to be straight up blunt about it, how
Yeah.
do we insulate ourselves from anything that's local on any given country, any given continent, anything like that, right?
I love that. I love that. And also, how do you and your money? So I got some friends who played basketball. After playing basketball in college, they didn't go pro, right? And so they were making money in Europe, and some of them left their money in Europe because they would have got taxed too heavy to bring it back to the States. And I'm not sure what countries they were in because some of the European economies, they fluctuate heavily. And so, but just also, how do you make your money? What did you say? You said protected from local politics. How do you make, because if everything's in the dollar and the U.S. economy goes to hell, right, then your dollar goes to hell, right? But if it was actually in gold, which is universal, or if it was in crypto, just because the U.S. economy went down, those two might not go down. In fact, gold tends to go up when the U.S. economy is going down. So so as you think about her citizenship, I'm also thinking about her currency that she operates and holds her wealth in.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's important too, in terms of not just currency, but how do you go about making sure that currency flows? You have that cash flow in other
Right.
currency too, right, over time. So, and that leads to another cool thing that's happening down here is, a friend of a friend came down here. This goes back to the true conversation today. This will made me think about today's conversation about, building your network. A friend of a friend, was invited down to Medellin by the government, the city government, to get him to start a business in Colombia and start a business in Medellin. Basically, recruiting web developers down here and selling them to different places in the United States and in other locales as well.
Awesome.
And yeah, so I've been connecting him with my network down here, and it can, it might be a mutually beneficial thing, long term, in terms of, we both getting what we need, from that relationship. And even if we didn't both get even if it was just me helping him out, which is I'm 100% fine with too. But it just kind of shows that opportunities kind of come your way. And, literally like 3 days ago, I didn't even know who the guy was, but, a friend that I trusted, recommended, that we connected and, we had a great conversation yesterday over lunch, and we're going to get up again later on this week. So
that's beautiful, man. That's beautiful. Yeah. The friend of the friend connections is powerful. Christian Duncan, he actually introduced me to what I consider one of my closest friends here in New Orleans, just over text message, send a text message to both of us. And now he, the young man here and I are getting a lot closer. And what's crazy is that he and I may end up becoming closer than him and Christian ever were, right? And the reason I'm saying Christian, because you and I both know Christian, and it's just these webs that are unfolding all over. And I think sometimes we undervalue who's actually in our cell phone and who we know. And I think that's because we actually don't always know who they truly are. We don't know what they want. We don't know what their skill sets are. We don't know what they're struggling with. Or you may know somebody by name. You may know somebody from school, but I don't think we really know the people who are in our cell phones. And if we did have a better understanding of who they were, what they wanted, and the value that they bring to the world, I think more of those kind of connections would happen. Right now, it's a lot of regional connections. So, you going to New Orleans? Let me send you this, right? Let me connect you with such and such by region. But I think there could be so many more connections by skill set, by problem, by opportunity, if we truly knew our networks. And there's some rules around the size of a tribe before it breaks down. It's around 180. After 180, the tribe breaks down. But I think in this social media world, we've been trying to have as many friends and followers as possible, when you could actually do a lot of damage with 180 people who are aligned.
Right. Yeah. No, I think, you share a lot of powerful tips right there, and just things to, thk about. I like what you said in terms of, what were those 3 things again?
Which things?
You mentioned, like, if we really knew.
What they wanted, their skill set, and what their challenges are, right? Because so I used to do this. I actually have this exercise that I created. It's a networking exercise, and I would do this at like MLT events and things of that nature, to show them and demonstrate the power of the network. And so I would give people business cards based on the number of people in the room, and you would have a skill set on one side, and then you would have a need on the other side. And the goal of the exercise was to go get, originally I said, go get your need met. And so you would go around the room networking, share your name and what you needed, and people would try to connect you. but that took longer. And then second round, I switched it up and I said, now change your mindset to not getting your need met. How about getting the needs met of those that you meet? And the connections happen faster because you weren't just thinking about selfish. Oh, because that's how networking typically happens. People are going to try to get something from somebody else. But when you're actually there and you're in the room and you're actually bringing two people together, that puts you in a place of power, not of power over those people, but they're going to remember you for making that connection between them. And sometimes you get broken off financially for actually bringing those two people together.
Yeah, no, I think that's 100% true in terms of what is your mindset, and that goes to the fact in terms of, is your network really your net worth, right?
Yeah,
and I was actually watching a video, or excuse me, a Netflix documentary about this given subject this weekend. It's called The Black Godfather. Have you heard of it?
No.
It's brand new. It just came out.
Okay.
So I saw a trailer for it on YouTube, and I checked it out. It's about a guy that I had never heard of, but it's really a legend in Hollywood. He's an old black guy named Clarence Avant.
Okay.
Right? So he's like 88 years old, but he probably has like the most, definitely one of the most, but if not the most powerful network, within Hollywood, especially talking about like black music, black Hollywood, spanning decades. I mean, he got his start, I think, back in 1959. Right? Talking about 70 years ago, or is that 70 or that 60? 60 years ago, he got his start, within the industry. And on that documentary, here's who was talking about Clarence Avant on that documentary. So you had his homeboy, Quincy Jones, Diddy, Ludacris, President Obama, President Clinton, and Kamala Harris, and others too.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy.
That's crazy. And, he's been doing that and involved, like, intersecting the world of business, music, and politics for generations. And he's just somebody you've never even heard of, but just commands a lot of respect because of who he is as a person, but then also just the network and relationship that he's built over these years being in the industry. Yeah,
I have a few friends that I just really admire in terms of how they I just watched them meet somebody brand new and like really hit it off, and they're just so good at it, and I sit there in admiration. I mean, I'm decent. I would give myself probably a B+ in terms of how I network, but I've witnessed some of my friends who are like that A+ person who could go into any room and not being in the room intentionally to woo it, right? But literally just there and deeply connecting with diverse groups of people from diverse backgrounds. It's a very beautiful thing to see. And it sounds like Clarence Avant has been able to do that. Even though everybody you mentioned was black, I'm sure that his network extends beyond that.
Way beyond that. Yeah,
right,
Weissman. Right. I mean, basically all the big time players in Hollywood, at that particular time. Yeah, and now actually, yeah.
So you think it was based on your research, was it a skill set that drew people to him? Because typically, in order to become that reputable, you have to be magnetic in some sort of a way and have something that a lot of people need. I don't know. What do you think was the thing that attracted people to him that made him this hub?
I think it was his integrity. Right, and his ability to give it to people straight. Like, you're there over and over again. It's like Clarence will give it to you straight, but whatever advice that he says to you, it's going to be from the heart, right? And it's going to be how he really feels and thinks about a particular subject. Okay. And so his willingness to help others, especially like the people younger than him, coming up. I think that really helped out too, because they told a story, and I thought the story was really powerful. So it was something to do with the E.T. movie back in 1982 with Steven Spielberg and E.T. and how that became like a huge blockbuster. And I think that they wanted to get Michael Jackson to do like the soundtrack or something related to the movie, but that was going to be like really big. The challenge was Steven Spielberg in the movie was represented by one company, and then Michael Jackson was represented by a completely other company. And And they have this picture of like this meeting with all these different people trying to come to a deal agreement to get Michael Jackson, to do like some stuff related to ET, which, in regular scenarios and circumstances, it would never have happened because of competing companies.
Yeah.
And, one of the agents was in there. He was a young guy at the time. He said, yeah, I saw so-and-so with EMA or EMI. That's so-and-so with Arista Records and X, Y, and Z, all these parties. And then they said, he asked, like, who's that guy? And he said, oh, that's Clarence Avant. He said, who does he represent? And he said, Clarence represents everybody in this room. Yeah. Yeah. So that was
dope. That's dope.
That was my favorite story, right? Because that's who he was. So he's the one who's the mediator, the person who, people trust because of who he is as a person. And he's the one who represented everyone in the room. And they got a deal done, and I'm sure, he played a part in making that happen.
That's beautiful, man. That's absolutely beautiful. I love that, man. I love that. That's a powerful story.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and, it gets back to this concept, is your network really your net worth? And I think it's a path, just like everything else. I think it's a path that, people can choose, because me and Boyce had a debate over that this morning. In one of our meetings where he's like, why are we, meeting more people, getting business development things done?
Why aren't we?
Why aren't we? Like we do, we have partners such as yourself and others, right? And we form partnerships to push, the Black Business School forward and, push your brand forward, and just everyone's, getting that win-win situation. But he was wondering why it wasn't really accelerating. And I questioned whether it was a strength of our organization to really do that on a consistent basis yet. Right? Because we spend a lot of money on audience development and brand building from that particular perspective in terms of wide audience, generation, right? So, Boyce had the video go viral this week where it got 850,000 views over the last 7 days.
The one that I sent you?
Yeah,
the one that I sent
you? Okay. Exactly. So it got all these views, and it created a lot of new subscribers. And then that's our way of building audience, right? That's a strategy that has worked for us, but we haven't really mastered the whole partnership game, because I don't know if that's in our DNA. Like, I have a very strong network, actually.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, you do.
But what's the DNA of the organization? I don't think that or the person or the organization. So we were going back and forth about it, and I was arguing, we can, spend more time developing these external partnerships and these external relationships, but at what cost, right? So the cost is opportunity, in terms of, if we do this, which we still may do, is it worth, us not spending enough time with the mass audience generation and building through advertising and other mechanisms as well? So that's something we have to kind of weigh, pros and cons of.
Well, I would say, like, when I look at your foundation, the foundation of Black Business School, when I look at the partnership with Farrakhan, the partnership with Damon Dash, I think those added, I don't know how they did from a subscriber standpoint and a list building and audience building standpoint. But I do know, even in hindsight, they are extreme credibility, right? They're
Dr. Anderson, yep.
Yeah, and Dr. Claude Anderson. So those are some of the big ones. And I do feel you do it naturally. Maybe it's not in a strategic way where you have lawyers at the table and you're doing a deal. But with the shows and the interview-based shows, I feel like you formulate those partnerships really. Maybe I'm gonna take that back, because I've been on lots of people's podcasts, and I wouldn't say that there's a partnership there, right? They probably might have been trying to get some content out of me, and I was trying to just share my content with others, but there's probably not a partnership. I think there could be more strategy around that, and we've seen other organizations that you and I are learning from, that not only do they put out other people's content, but they have a strategic partnership that actually creates a new pie and expands that pie for them. I believe you've done that with several Fly Nubian Queen and other channels. Those are partnerships. So I feel like that muscle has been there, but it's interesting to consider what kind of partnerships I do believe that partnership is the fastest way to expand. When I started my speaking career, I started a partnership with the National Society of Collegiate Scholars, right? I had written the 66 things to do before you graduate list. That had went viral on the internet. I shared it with the National Society of Collegiate Scholars, which I was part of when I was an undergrad. They loved it. And then they asked me, do you have a speech for this? And I was like, now I do, right? And then I ended up kicking off my speaking career by going to 30 of their campuses, right? It would have taken me longer on my own to get to 30 college campuses, right? And so partnership with you all in the Freedom Family. I couldn't have built the Freedom Family in terms of my audience size that quickly, right? But through the partnership. But in order to have partnership, it requires, you have to have some clear value proposition in order to create a partnership that's bigger than you. When you're trying to partner up, I would say, when you're trying to partner up, you have to have a very clear value proposition. It has to, the pie has to lean on the upside for the person you're trying to partner with. They have to see like clear win and no risk for them in order for them to say yes. Otherwise, they're just going to keep doing their thing, you know? So I do believe partnership is the fastest way to expand.
Yeah, no, I think it is the fastest way to expand.
One of the fastest.
Yeah, it can be the fastest way to expand. The cost to it is a lot of time, right? So you're gonna spend a lot of time.
No, Doctor. I mean, so I knew you. And then George James introduced, happened to be in Brooklyn. Literally, Freedom Family came out of a 30-minute cab ride, right?
Yeah, no, you're right.
So
you're right.
if you've done your research properly and you actually know that you can add extreme value to someone and you can articulate that, a great partnership can happen just like that.
I think here's the thing, though. How long did you know George James? How long did you know me?
George James, yes. So for some partnership, yeah, because two people might be desiring to work with one another, and it takes time for that right opportunity to emerge. But I think I don't think it's a function of how long it takes for the partnership to arise. I think it's the partnership and the opportunity meeting us coming at a right time. Because you and I were even figuring out what is our opportunity. We know that we wanted to work together outside of the Black Business School for a while. And we were just looking for the right opportunity, and idea, and time for that to manifest. So, but the partnership, yeah, it's a good question. It's a good question.
Yeah, man. So just for the people who are just tuning in, we're talking about, is your network really your net worth? What up, Troy? It's good to see you with Hoodoo Financial.
Yep.
Yeah. So Troy, you're asking, partnerships in what areas? We're really just talking about partnerships in general, and I guess specifically business. Yeah, that's what we're talking about right now. But just generally, we're just talking about partnerships and, what's the value of your social network? What's the value of your relationships? That type of thing too.
But I want everybody to recognize that they already have a team. Like, we outsource so much. There's nobody who's navigating or moving through life alone unless you're out in the boonies, right? You have a mechanic, you have a dentist, you have a gardener, you have a teacher that's educating your kids, you have a primary care doctor, you might have a minister, you might have a go-to restaurant. Like, in all honesty, our whole life is based on partnerships. And of course, we've been talking about business partnerships up to this point, but we outsource so many aspects of our lives that we don't recognize them as actual partnerships. Like, if your car broke down and your mechanic went out of business, yeah, you could find another mechanic, but then you have to go through this space of rebuilding a relationship and trust, because mechanics have this branding of getting over on people. You know what I'm saying? So if you and your significant other have been relying on a particular babysitter or your nanny, Lawrence, and all of a sudden she's no longer there because her family has called her back or whatnot, that's going to disrupt your life in a lot of ways. And so we are always in the process of forming partnerships. I think if you look at it like that, how many people do you really, really depend on? We all like to say that, oh, I'm independent and I'm doing this on my own. Nah, homie, you're not growing your food. You're not doing this. You're not fixing your car. Some people not cleaning their house, right? You're not watching your kids 24/7. Nobody's doing this alone. And when you look at the world's most successful people, they're very conscious of that. And the world's most successful people, they all move in packs. They all move in packs. And I think it's the Declaration of Independence where we took independence. It's like independence means I do this on my own. I pick myself up by my own bootstraps. But the reality is that somebody had to make the damn bootstraps.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't make them. So what do you mean you did this on your own? Somebody made the bootstraps.
Right. Yeah, no, that's interesting. I like that. I like that analogy. And I guess the first question that comes to my mind is, what is the difference between a transactional relationship and a partnership relationship?
That's no different than a one-night stand in a marriage.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
One-night stand, two people get something out of it. It might have been two people get something out of it. They both wanted it, but then a marriage is like we're committed to each other beyond a certain time period, and I want what's best for you. Yeah, man. There's a lot of transactions.
So we're talking about commitment then, in a way.
Yeah, I'm committed to Lawrence. I'm committed to you, your well-being, your family's well-being beyond whatever we do together from a business standpoint.
So was Kevin Durant in a partnership with the Golden State Warriors?
That was transactional. He will be there another year because he's gonna make them pay for his recovery. But that was transactional. The same way for DeMarcus Cousins, it was transactional. It was not a partnership. Do I believe that they formed a brotherhood during that time? Yeah, because you're on a journey, you're living with each other, or you basically under each other for a long time, and everybody on that team is cool dudes. They cool folks. So you're gonna form a brotherhood, but next time they see Kevin Durant in the finals on another team, well, you'll see whether it's a partnership or is it transactional. Kevin Durant gonna go in.
Well, that means that there are no partnerships in professional sports then.
No, Dwayne Wade and LeBron, that was a partnership. I believe. I don't think that was transactional.
Oh, but that was a team though. So you're talking about transactional.
Oh, that was a partnership between them with the team. Oh no, the players in the NBA, players have gained power. The players are basically dictate where they want to go. Dwayne Wade and LeBron part coming together like that. That was the first time, of course, LeBron being the best player in the league at the time. That was the first time a player actually exhibited the power to say, I want to play with a particular person and I'm going to make that happen. You know what I'm saying? But I think the players have more power in the NBA than anywhere else. In baseball, I don't think they have power. NFL, I don't think they have power like that. NBA, I think because of the size of the team and notoriety of some players, I think and the players union is also strong in the NBA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no. So I think it's a sliding scale as we talk more, right? On one side, you have transactional.
Yeah.
On the other side, you have a partnership, right?
Yeah.
And I think that, like, for example, I can't say that the relationship between, let's say, Steph Curry or Klay Thompson. We'll see that Klay actually this summer, but Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors was completely transactional, right? Because that's a team that drafted him. Now, true, it is to a point like we still need you to perform, but I think that's in any partnership. No matter what you're talking about, like. Both parties need to do what they say they were going to do and to perform, or else that partnership is going to end. Like if my nanny or my housekeeper or something like that to stop taking care of me, or doing something else, that partnership's ending right then and there,
Yeah, but then you have I think NFL is called franchise tax or whatnot, but the Mavs and Dirk Nowitzki, that became a partnership. It might have been transactional initially, but at some point, Dirk Nowitzki became the face of that organization, and that became a partnership, and we're going to take care of you until you decide to retire, right? And then you have people like DeRozan who thought they were in a partnership in Toronto, the way that he had given to that city and to that team.
Chicago, yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then they traded him without even speaking to him, and it was actually in their best interest to do so, given that they're in the finals right now. But it's actually really sad when somebody.
Oh, you mean DeMar DeRozan? Okay, I was like,
yeah. When one party thinks it's a partnership and the other party actually believes and knows it's transactional, that's really that really leads to sour taste in somebody's mouth at the end of the day.
Yeah, and that's why I think it's a sliding scale, though, right? Because some things lend itself to forming partnerships over a long period of time, and then other things things might just be, partnering for a particular event or partnering for a particular, launch or something like that. So
yeah, I think you have to have a time frame, and I think you have to have, and once that time frame is up, I think there has to be a reevaluation period. But I think because the reevaluation doesn't occur, the partnership kind of lingers, and then you question, is this actually more a partnership, or was that just transactional and we just haven't drew the line and said, oh, that was great, we did something great together, but I'm going this way, you going that way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the beautiful thing about social capital, when we talk about personal capital, which is how well one knows themselves, intellectual capital, which is what they know, social capital is who they know and who knows them, and then financial capital, which is who knows that you know what you know, right? The beautiful thing about social capital, and why I believe it's actually the fastest way to grow anything that you're doing, is because when I meet one person, when I meet Lawrence, if I form a genuine partnership, right, I actually get access to his personal capital, right, all his gifts, talents, and strengths. I get access to his intellectual capital, everything he's been studying and researching and doing for the past 20 years. I get access to his social capital. Hey, Lawrence, you know somebody who does that? Yeah, blah, 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 I'll connect you. And I have never asked him for money, but I could get access to his financial capital if I had a deal that I had a $50,000 gap on that I knew he would want to be a part of. So I've literally met one person, right? And I can access their capital. I don't have time to go learn everything that Lawrence has learned. I don't have time to go make all the money that he might have saved. I don't have time to develop his gifts, talents, and strengths and skills when I have my own, right? And I don't have time to develop his network. So you can either build a network, which takes a long time, or you can buy a network. And this is why I'm so committed to masterminds, is because it's you buying your way into a network of other people who have actually been vetted and actually shown that they're serious by their level of commitment to the common mission of the mastermind.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Yeah, because you're right, build a network, or I guess that's you do when you go pay for a university in a way, right?
If people saw university as networking, I think people see business school as networking. I don't think people see university as networking, though. I don't think people actually build a lot of social capital when they're at university, because they think it's all about the intellectual capital.
See, I think that's changing. Well, at least,
I hope so.
With a certain segment, right? Because I think about all these parents who are vying to get their kids into these prestigious schools.
Committing fraud.
Fraud for college, but even getting to preschool. Right? Like all this, to get into a specific preschool. And part of it is for their children to build a certain skill set, but then part of it is who else is going to be at that preschool, right? In terms of what other parents are going to be there. Who can their kids network with and say they went to preschool with, 25 years from now, like those types of things too. So,
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's. I would say that's not the masses yet. I think that's more of the. I don't even want to call them elite.
Or I don't know. I don't know what to call it.
Not elite to me.
Rich.
But the rich. But you and I also have different definition of rich. So. So I don't know.
Financially rich. I don't know. I don't know what to call it. Yeah.
I don't know what to call them.
But then sometimes it just works out though. And the reason is there's an article that was explaining that about the whole, what they call it, varsity blues, the scandal now that they're calling it about the whole college thing. Yeah. There was an article talking about there is a reason why that goes just beyond, I want my kid to go to Harvard, because you're then put on a track, you're put on a path that basically makes sure that your life is going to be set financially to some degree. Right? Because the next thing they're going to do, they go to this college and they go to work at Goldman Sachs or McKinsey or something like that. And then the next thing they do is go back to business school or go to law school or go to med school. And then the next thing they do is get that first internship, that first job. And then the next thing they do is start volunteering for these organizations, right? Then they finally get a board seat on those organizations. Then that leads to another promotion. Then that leads to other opportunities. So it's like a never-ending cycle till you die.
Yeah, right? It's a predictable life, and most people.
But not a bad life.
Not a bad life. But it's a secure path. You never know what that individual actually could have been if they weren't sucked into the wave, And if you really ask that individual, actually that individual because of their parents has probably been so programmed that they think this is what they want. They think that this is exactly what I want. And they've actually never taken the moment to think for themselves. So it's interesting, but that's the power of brand associations. And I'll be honest, my Stanford degree that got me my first investor on my .com company when I was at Stanford. He was an alumni, and I probably wouldn't have got that had I not had a Stanford MBA. And Stanford is probably I won't say it's open doors, but it's increased people's listening. Because if I'm able to drop that, then people are more open to hearing me. Because and that's been valuable. I don't use it all the time, but when I'm trying to reach up really, really high, sometimes I got to pull that card.
I'll use my degrees all the time because I paid for them. Right? Like that's kind of how I view it.
Yeah, but I only use it if I have to, because if I can get in just off of who I am, just like the guy, what was his name again, Avant. If I could just do it off of who I am, and you don't treat me any differently than if I told you I was a Stanford MBA or whatnot, then I feel better about the relationship, the partnership that's actually forming, rather than I have to throw all these credibility cards at you for you to actually even have heard me. So I try to go in authentically first, and if I have to pull that card, I might drop it in a sentence. But sometimes, if you're dealing with those kind of people,
you authentically have a degree, 2 degrees from Stanford.
I do authentically have 2 degrees.
So I think I view it a little bit differently.
That's
and how I view it is, I was working on my brand. And I thought this was a good strategic investment. Who knows if it was? I'll tell you in 10 years if it's good for me to get my MBA, whatever. But basically, just like the mastermind you're talking about, I paid to be a part of a particular network. You know what I mean?
Right.
And have a particular type of brand, right? So to me, just like having an audience that you don't reach out to, or having an apartment building that you own that doesn't have tenants occupying it, it's an unused asset, right? So,
understood.
Yeah. So that's kind of
for me. I think Dr. Watkins would disagree. Sometimes I think there's some times where I think it increases the community's listening of me, and then there's also a story in my head that sometimes, given where the average person in our community is, I think sometimes it distances me from that community. And so depending on what that I'm seeking to serve, I'm literally spooked that's by the door trying to go get the information from elsewhere and bring it back in the same way Europeans did it to Egypt. They came and got the information from our libraries and brought it back, right? It's finding the right time to share it, and share it in a way that has humility, because I know that a lot of it, honestly, was a function of my privilege and who I was born to, which spiritually, I feel I had choice in that. But from a biological standpoint, I had no choice in who I was born to. And had I been born in a different space and to a different home, I don't know if my education would have unfolded in that way. So always sharing it with that bit of humility.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you, right? Like, I got put on a track when I went to Phillips Academy, Andover, Massachusetts, in the summer in high school, right?
What is that? That is your high school? That was the name of your high school, or the summer camp?
No, summer. So for 6 weeks each summer, I used to go study math and science at the most prestigious boarding school in the nation, right?
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, and that put me on a track to where I've always said I haven't had to work as hard as other people to get opportunities, because I was already placed on this particular track.
Yeah.
And opportunities, MLT came up, and SVMP at Harvard came up, and so came up. And it's just like, once you're on that track, it's kind of flowing. Now that could be good or bad, because sometimes that track can lead you to where you don't want to go. Right.
Yeah.
But
right.
One of my favorite quotes is from Snoop from The Wire. She's about to kill Michael, right? And, Mike said, Mike was asking all these questions about why this happened. Why is the road this way? Why is it that way? And then finally Snoop's like, man, deserve ain't got nothing to do with it. Right. And I agree with her, to a large degree. And one of my mentors told me something very similar, before where, I told a story before, but his name's Carl Brazeley. And he was talking about this opportunity, it's like, yeah, there might be people better at this job than I am, but I'm in front of you right now and I can do it. So are you going to go search for those other people, or are you going to hire me?
That's gangster. That's right? Gangster right there.
Yeah. And that's how I feel. That's how I approach everything.
Yeah.
Right. Like the word deserve in my life doesn't even cross my mind. You know what I mean? it's like I either have it or I don't. It's like, it's either there or it's not. So me using every resource available to, get what I want out of life and to help others along the way, which is something I want to do too. I'm going to use it.
Yeah, I find that that goodwill, and I feel like I built up a lot that I don't, and I haven't. There's some people who give goodwill and expect reciprocity. There's some people who are literally taking Cialdini and trying to trigger reciprocity in other people, and doing it in using psychology, right? Somewhat manipulative, but sometimes they're using it for a good cause, right? I think I've built up a lot of goodwill by just being there and helping people, whether that's talking to a friend when they're going through a rough time, whether that's videos online and things of that nature. And I think that a partnership. I think about and here's where I knew that it felt good for me when I actually called out to the community that I've been serving and giving freely to on the internet, and I was able to raise $12,000 for Build, right, for the organization I care for, because I never asked for money in that kind of way. I always, whenever I asked for money, it was because I was giving you value in exchange for something, and people showed up and showed out because they recognized the goodwill that I've been putting out in the world for consistently for a period of time, and that was a beautiful thing to witness. I was overjoyed by people pouring into the organization through me in that way. And so that was a loose partnership where I was serving them with my knowledge and expertise. And then I actually made a clarion call out to everyone, and people showed up. People that I didn't even know I was impacting and serving. When you do these kind of campaigns, you expect certain people to give and they don't give. But then there's people who in the woodworks and in the shadows, and they're like, boom. And you're like, oh, wow, where'd you come from? Thank you. You know what I'm saying? And it's a beautiful thing. But I don't try to use reciprocity. It's not like an eye for eye for me. Like, I give you this, you give me that. I trust that there's a universal account that's out there, and it's going to come back. It comes back in different ways. So it may not even be a partnership with the individual. It's just like a partnership with the universe. I just believe that the good that you put out comes back multiplied.
And I think that's why Clarence Avant was so strong, is because he seemed like he has a very similar, way of doing things, from that perspective.
100%. 100%. So what I'm taking away from this conversation today is partnership can be one of the fastest ways to scale if you're intentionally, like, you can say, look, I'm about to go make the most money I can, and that's going to get me to where I'm trying to go. Or I'm going to go make the most strategic relationships that I can, or I'm going to go get the most pertinent information that I can, or I'm going to just master self, or a combination of those things. But I definitely have seen people win just through navigating relationships. Like, I believe in people, I connect with people, and I connect people together. So I'm seeing that. And then the other takeaway is that from a networking standpoint and a relationship standpoint, it's got to be more than it can't be like just give, get, and vice versa. There has to be, for a partnership to really form, I think there has to be genuine and aligned intention. It can't just be transactional, and there's a spectrum. And there are times for relationships to just be transactional. Like, I'm not trying to meet the guy at the corner store who I might go get probably should, honestly, but if I need a gallon of water, I'm not trying to build a relationship with the guy behind the counter. You know what I'm saying? At this point in time. So there are times when transactional is okay, I believe.
Yeah, and because it goes back to what you're talking about. Actually, I just thought about this. There's a scarcity, or there's a limit of number of true connections that you can form, right?
Yes.
One
Yes.
180,
Yes. Yep.
whatever it is,
180.
right?
Yep.
And it
But
takes a lot
I
to
think,
manage a network of 180.
yeah, that would take a lot. But I think if you and I sat down and we said, and even the retreat that we were going to do in Medellin, that's still on the table with the fellas, just that 20 to 30 people coming down, I just know all kinds of opportunities will come out of that space without there even really being an intention for the space. Just bringing those people together, I know that wealth will be created in that moment in time, you know?
Yeah, I mean that's what Troy was asking about too. He asked, how about a forum to facilitate partnering on ventures, speak about bringing potential projects to people for partnerships. How much should projects or project creators have accomplished before we're presenting opportunities? So
Yeah.
basically, it's talking about how do you create these forums, these networks, these areas for people to really come together.
Yeah, it's uh, it's there's a skill set in writing business plans and writing proposals and in seeing where you can help somebody win. And like I said, if you're trying to partner up, it has to be a clear win-win for the other person and with minimal risk. And so you actually have to care and understand who they are and what they're doing so much that you know that what you present to them is going to be a home run and that they're guaranteed to say yes to it. Like there's no way for them to say no to it. That's a skill set. So even if we had a forum and we brought everybody together, the art of actually forming those partnerships and deals, that's a skill set that I'd have to actually observe myself to really pull out the pieces of how you form a strong organizational partnership.
I guess I need to make a model for it.
I know it's coming. I already know it's coming.
Yeah.
So. I mean, because you've done it on several occasions. So what did you see? Let's just take the Damon. So let's just do, before we check out, Damon Dash, right? So what did you see Damon Dash desired, right? And then what did you have that you could present to fill that desire? What was the win for Boyce? What was the win for Damon? And where's that partnership now?
Yeah, so now that partnership is not active, right?
Okay. Yeah.
But at the beginning, it was because Dame and Boyce, they had shared values as it relates to Black financial empowerment.
Yeah.
Now, the partnership opportunity came about because they expressed those values in different ways. Dame, in his street way, right? Rockefeller Records type of way, right? And Boyce as a finance professor. And then we had a platform in terms of a shared audience who agreed with both of us, but a piece of our audience actually liked the way that Dame presented better than Boyce.
Yeah.
Right? So, that's how it really came together. But it really came from their friendship and them liking each other first and noticing that there's some level of value, that they can, that they can exchange.
Yeah. Dope.
I think over time, though, things just started to separate in terms of where they wanted to go, right?
Yeah.
So their vision was no longer, I guess, as shared as it was in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
And because of that, it's still the partnership exists in like perpetuity or like in the background, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's not something that we're actively, working towards. And I think that's the thing about partnerships too, marriage or anything else, just business partnerships, is you really have to work. You have to work towards, those shared and common goals every single day. So and that's where I got to the point where you were talking, and that's why I say partnerships is probably the thing that takes the most amount of work to push forward, right? In terms of like building a business, like it's the best way to scale and expand, but then it takes consistent amount of work and effort, and having to work with other people, which for some individuals that, depending on who you're working with, that can be a pain in the ass or it could be the best thing in the world. So,
yeah. So that's interesting because when I look at Doc's passion for film, it seems like Dame has everything set up for that from a resource standpoint, which he's invested a lot in to create his new production situation. And so that partnership if it's all about using and sharing of resources and assets, there could be opportunity there. Even Jay Morrison and the film studio that they've created down in Atlanta, I know that Voice has done work for, not work, but come to speak at the events, and there may be ways to leverage that facility to facilitate both people's missions, you know? So yeah, interesting. Well, this has been good, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's definitely been good. I think we covered a lot in terms of relationships and, you know, is your network really your net worth? I think the answer is yes. But, you know, like it's one form of your net worth.
Yeah.
And I think everything always goes back to the, you know, the Black Capital Collective framework that we're developing.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
It's one type of, I think it's one type of currency, one type of capital. And people can be really successful using that particular piece of capital. And you need a little bit of it to at least get those initial opportunities. Yeah, but
other people want usually other people have whatever you want, and you can have money in your account and still not have what you want because somebody else has it. And so usually you have to go through somebody else in order to get what you want. And to the extent that there's a partnership or a relationship there, is actually, it'll make it easier for you to get what you want in life.
Right. So,
yes.
But yeah, man.
Cool. So for everybody just joining, this is Lawrence and I. We are having our weekly Black Family Financial call, and this is what we are just sharing what our thinking is around wealth creation. We are in the process of creating a framework and methodology to increase Black family wealth, and this is our space to hash that out live with you. And we expect that it's going to manifest as a book, which will serve as the blueprint for our community. And yeah, so that's where we're at. And we want to thank you for joining us on this journey. And actually, Lawrence and I are going to be together at the end of the month as we get ready for the Freedom, Family, and Black Expert Empire event, 48-hour business school here in New Orleans. And we're going to get some time to go deep in together and really lay out the framework. We believe that there is a framework. We believe that other communities have used frameworks because you can just see the way that their cultures move in unison. And I'm talking about my quote unquote minority communities, from the Asian community to other immigrant communities. There is a process, and I don't know if they actually have a book, but it's been embedded in their culture as a way to move in order to create wealth here in the United States. And we have a different tradition or history, and that many of us didn't, our ancestors didn't come here by choice, and that they were brought here in a different way. And that has shaped the way we actually approach our relationship to this country and wealth. And we're trying to break that code because we as Africans in America have amazing skill sets. There are other people monetizing our skill sets, and it's time for us to reclaim our power.
Wonderful. Yeah. So I have nothing else. So.
All right, Chief. So I'll see you soon.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
All right, bye, everybody. Peace.